Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Grivaradari Jaya Gopi Gopi Jana Balaba Grivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Grivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Grivaradari Jaya Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitago Haribo, 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 Nitago Haribo, Nitago. Nitago Haribo, 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 Nitago Haribo, Nitago. Jaya Vishnu Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stutasashman. His Divine Grace Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Vishnu Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stutasashman. His Divine Grace Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prāṇam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda ki. Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunde Giri Govardhana ki. Vrindavan Dham ki. Mapu Dham ki. Dwaka Dham ki. Jagannath Dham ki. Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya ki. Tasi Devi Bhakti Devi ki. Sri Guru Chanda ki, Sri Krishna Balaram ki, Sri Radha Sunda ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Samaveta Bhakta-vrinda ki, Nitai Go Premanande. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru Gauranga. Agyanachimandasya Gana Salakaya Chasu Sumilita Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobishta Stapita Yena Bhutale Sayarupa Kadama Yadadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Suyutam Padakamana Sri Guru Vaishnamuscha Sri Rupam Sagyata Sagana Raghunatha Vitata Sajivam Sadhuitan, Sabhadutan, Parijana, Satan, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devan. Sri Radha Krishna Padasagana Lalita Sri Visakhavitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kunturada Kunta Namastate. Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Krishna ya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraja Govindaya Namo Namah. Vasudeva Sutan Devam Kamsa Chandra Madana Devaki Paramananda Krishna Vande Jagaguru. Namamo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravan Pracharini Ne Visesa Sunyavadi Pashashchati Satarini. Namo Mahavadaya Ya Krishna Pima Padayate Krishna Ya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Guratase Nama Vanchaka Pataravyascha Kripa Sindhi Bevacha Patitanam Pavanavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Siva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ananda Lila Maya Vigraya Mebada Vicha Visundaraya Tasma Maha Prem Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namaste. So I thank everyone for being here this evening. Our ISKCON Vrindavan Krishna Balaram Temple for the nightly Bhagavad-Gita class. Today is also a very auspicious day. Today is the appearance day of Srila Haridas Thakur, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. So Namacharya, by the Acharya of the holy name, he gave the meaning to what is chanting the holy name of Krishna. And through this chanting, all perfections will be attained. So we are in the chapter 4, text number 29, the transcendental knowledge, which is Gyan Yoga. The transcendental knowledge, that's the title of the chapter, it's Gyan Yoga. So I think we have the text on the board. This is one another verse. Apane juhvati pānaṁ apare juhvati prāṇam prāne apānam tathāpare prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā prāṇayāma-parāyaṇāḥ apare niyatāhārāḥ prāṇaṣu juhvati apāne juhvati prāṇam prāṇe pānaṁ tathāpare prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā prāṇayāma-parāyaṇāḥ apare niyatāhārāḥ prāṇam prāṇeṣu juhvati apāne juhvati prāṇam prāṇe tathāpare prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā prāṇayāma-parāyaṇāḥ apare niyatāhārāḥ prāṇeṣu juhvati
apāne juhvati prāṇam prāṇāpānam tathāpare prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā prāṇayāma-parāyaṇāḥ apare niyatāhārāḥ prāṇam prāṇeṣu juhvati
apane juhvati prāṇam
apāne juhvati prāṇam
prāṇe apānam tathāpare prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā
prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā
prāṇayaama-parāyaṇāḥ apare tathāpare
apare niyatāhārāḥ
prāṇeṣu juhvati
prāṇeṣu juhvati
apāne juhvati prāṇam
apāne juhvati prāṇam
prāṇe pānaṁ tathāpare
prāṇāpāna-gatī
prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā
prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā prāṇāyāma-parāyaṇāḥ
apare niyatāhārāḥ
apare niyatāhārāḥ
prāṇam prāṇeṣu juhvati
prāṇeṣu juhvati
apāne juhvati prāṇam
apāne juhvati prāṇam
prāṇe-apānam tathāpare
prāṇe-apāne
prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā
prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā
prāṇayyāma-parāyaṇāḥ
prāṇayyāma-parāyaṇāḥ
apare niyatāhārāḥ
apare niyatāhārāḥ
prāṇaṣu juhvati
Apāne, in the hair which acts downward.
in the air which acts downward.
Juhvati,
Juhvati
offer.
apāne
Prāṇam,
prāṇam
the hair which acts outward.
the air which acts outward.
Prāṇe,
Prāṇam
in the hair going outward. Apānam,
apānam
the hair going downward.
the air going downward.
Tathā,
Tathā
as also.
others
Apare,
apare
others.
others.
Prāṇam,
Prāṇa
of the hair going outward.
the air going outward.
Apānam,
Apāna
and the hair going downward.
the air going downward.
Gatī,
Gati
the movement.
the movement.
Ruddhvā,
Ruddhvā
checking.
checking.
Prāṇāyāma,
Prāṇayāma
trance induced
trance induced
by stopping all breathing.
by stopping all breathing.
Parāyāṇāḥ,
Prāṇa
so inclined.
so inclined.
Apare,
Apare
others.
others.
Niyata,
Niyata
having controlled.
control.
āhārāḥ,
Āhārāḥ
eating.
eating.
Prāṇam,
Prāṇam
the outgoing hair.
the outgoing air.
Prāṇeṣu,
Prāṇeṣu
in the outgoing hair.
in the outgoing air.
Juhvati,
Juhvati
sacrifice.
sacrifice.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Stacy Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance, practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming, and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the heating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. Purport. This system of yoga for controlling the breathing process is called prāṇaṁ. And in the beginning, it is practiced in the Hatha Yoga system through different sitting postures. All of these processes are recommended for controlling the senses and for advanced realization. This practice involves controlling the hairs within the body so as to reverse the directions of their passage. The apāna hair goes downward and the prāṇa hair goes up. The pranayama yogi practices breathing the opposite way until the currents are neutralized into puraka, equilibrium. Offering the exhaled breath into the inhaled breath is called rechaka. When both air currents are completely stopped, one is said to be in Kumbhaka Yoga. By practice of Kumbhaka Yoga, one can increase the duration of life for perfection in spiritual realization. The intelligent yogi is interested in attaining perfection in one life without waiting for the next. For by practicing Kumbhaka Yoga, the yogis increase the duration of life by many, many years. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, automatically becomes the controller of the senses. His senses, being always engaged in the service of Krishna, have no chance of becoming otherwise engaged. So, at the end of life, he is naturally transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. Consequently, he makes no attempt to increase his longevity. He is at once raised to the platform of liberation, as stated in Bhagavad-Gita 14:26, Mam chayo vyabhicharenam bhakti-yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitam brahma-bhuyaya-kapate. One who engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord transcends the modes of material nature and is immediately elevated to the spiritual platform. A Krishna conscious person begins from the transcendental stage and is constantly in that consciousness. Therefore, there is no falling down, and ultimately he enters into the abode of the Lord without delay. The practice of reduced eating is automatically done when one eats only Krishna prasadam, or food which is offered to the Lord. Reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. And without sense control, there is no possibility of getting out of the material entanglements. Apāne juhvati prāṇaṁ tathāpare prāṇāpāna-gatī ruddhvā prāṇayāma-parāyaṇāḥ. Apare niyatāhārāḥ prāṇaṣu juhvati. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. So the process of Ashtanga Yoga is briefly mentioned here. This process of Ashtanga Yoga, which begins by the practice of air, breathing process. And through this breathing process, which involve the controlling of the inward and outward breathing, at the outgoing and the process called the prāṇa process, and by such practice, one is able to have control over the senses, to gain control over the senses. So it's mentioned here that the word prāṇaṁ has two components. Prāṇa means a special type of hair, and āyāma means expansion. Here, expansion means to control the prāṇa from the tip of the toenails to the hair on top of the head. In Garuda Purana, it is said, prāṇāyāma-parāyaṇāḥ. To control the prāṇa hair is called prāṇaṁ, prāṇayāma. Therefore, prāṇayāma means expanded prāṇa for the purpose of controlling the activities of the senses. So that's why because unless the senses are fully controlled, then it's not possible to enter the performance of yoga or the practice of self-realization in terms of different yoga sadhanas or spiritual sadhanas which one's expected to perform. So in the beginning, when this process whereby the first beginning, there are some practice first. This beginning stage, the beginning of the yoga system. Whereby in the beginning, there's some regulations which one has to perform. This is called yam and niyam. These different regulations, which begins from controlling the intake of food items that one eats. Because unless there's proper control of the tongue, the food, the intake of the food, then the senses will always be fully agitated. So after one's able to control, they follow some regulations and all that, then the prāṇaṁ starts. The prāṇaṁ whereby one starts the process of inhaling and also exhaling. This process, and the process of exhaling and inhaling and exhaling, whereby both of them are brought together. The inhaling and exhaling are brought together. This stage is called the state, which is the state of equilibrium. Equilibrium means this, where things are equal. That's equilibrium means to make things equal. So, as mentioned in the purport, that the whole process, the goal of this practice is to ultimately control the senses. That's the goal of this practice. But this practice, it's actually a very strenuous effort. It's very, very long. It's a very long process. The Patanjali, there was a great sage, his name was Patanjali, who wrote Yoga Vasishta, in the Yoga Vasishta. So he gave a very elaborate elaborate descriptions about all these different yoga systems. This Ashtanga Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. He gave very, very elaborate system by which a serious person and have to follow them. A serious person who wants to attain success in yoga have to follow this elaborate system. But it so happened that here, in this age of Kali, in this stage, people's concentration is very, very reduced, very, very, It mentioned in Bhagavatam that was that Payinepa Yisa Sabya Kalo Asme Yuga Jana Manda Sumada Matayo Manda Bhagya Upadrita. That in this age of Kali, that people are very, very much people are first the living entity are said to be unfortunate because first the lifespan is very, very short. The lifespan is short. And also, being age of Kali, age of iron, people are very, very much, people are very, very quarrelsome, which make them very restless. And also, attention is very, very minimal. There's also laziness. People are also very lazy in terms of practice of spiritual life. People are very lazy. When we try to get someone to sit in one corner to meditate, they cannot just sit for long. After some time, they want to do something. The mind becomes very, very agitated. It's just like a child. You have a child to sit in one corner. The child cannot sit in one corner for long. Because the nature of a child is to be restless. So therefore, the chair is always going about, cannot stay in one place for more than 2 or 3 minutes. So similarly also, the people mind this age is like that. People are very, very restless. The concentration in spiritual practice is very much minimal. So therefore, all this yoga process, which have been explained here, and we're going to get more into them throughout this chapter, and then in the next chapter, all the way to chapter 6, whereby the much explanation of yoga has been explained. So, but this process is very, very, it's very much difficult actually, especially for people of this age. It's only a very, very small number of people that are able to really concentrate in the practice of this yoga. It's only a very small, number of people. So that's why in this age, the practice of yoga system is basically not really recommended. It's not recommended. So the direct Krishna consciousness is actually which is the engagement of the senses in the service of Krishna. Because yes, it's very difficult to control the senses, and the yoga system are meant to bring senses under control. However, it mentioned here there is a method. Instead of going through all this yoga process, which take very long time, and there is no guarantee of success. There is no guarantee of success for it. So therefore, the simpler method which has been recommended is to engage the senses in the service of the master of the senses. So Rishikesa Sikuna Sevana Bhakti Uchete. So Rishikesa Sikuna Sevana Bhakti Uchete. Because Krishna is the Rishikesh, is the master of the senses. And when all the senses are being engaged in his service, then the senses, they become automatically controlled because the master is there, and the master is there, who is Krishna, and the senses automatically, when they engage in his service, so they are being controlled automatically. For example, we have the sense of, just like the tongue. The tongue can be utilized to vibrate the holy name of the Lord, or to take prasad, which has been the food which has been offered to the Lord. The nose can be used to smell the fragrance of the whatever is offered to the Lord, like the incense or the flowers, perfumes. The senses can be utilized for that. Just like the Kumaras. The Kumaras, they were great sages. They were self-realized persons, self-realized. They were actually Brahmavadis, which made them realize Brahman. But they were not yet devotee. They were not yet devotee, but they realized Brahman. They were Brahmavadis. So then they went to the spiritual world. They wanted to see the Lord. They wanted to see Lord Narayan. So they wanted to see Lord Narayan, and then they went to the spiritual abode. At that time, as they were at the gate of Vaikuntha, so they were prevented from going inside by Jaya Vijay, the two guards of the Lord's kingdom. They were prevented from going inside. So the Kumaras, when they saw that the Jaya Vijay, the guard who were preventing them from going, so then they became angry that, oh, why can't you allow us to go in? You see, you are seeing duality here in this spiritual world. You're not supposed to see duality. Everything's supposed to be one. So therefore they became angry, and then they give a cause that, oh, you should not be here. You should be in the material world, not here. But immediately the Lord came. The Lord came to the gate. The Lord came. And when the Lord came, so there's fragrance which always coming from the toenails of the Lord. And when this fragrance entered the nostrils of the Kumaras, they smell the aroma that is coming from the Tuesday, which is offered to the Lord's lotus feet. When they smell this enter their nostrils, then their senses became energized, like became fully awakened, then they became devotee. They became devotee. And then they realized that, they realized the Lord, and then they realized that, this person that they have given a cause to, Jan Vijay, these are the Lord's devotees. These are the Lord's own servants. And then they started becoming remorseful that, what have they done? What have they done? So because they've realized, come to the senses, they've developed now spiritual senses. Through that aroma that entered their nostril, they became devotees. And of course, the Lord then told them that this is my own arrangement, because the Lord had some desire to fight. So the Lord's his own desire that these two persons, Jay and Vijay, they will fight with them in the material world, because the Lord wants to fight. And these two devotees, Jay and Vijay, they've prayed to him that, our dear Lord, we know you have a desire to fight, so therefore let us fulfill your desire. So this is the fulfillment. So the Lord granted them this one. So, but through the smelling of the aroma, by using the sense of smelling through the nose, the smell, and they became devotees. So I will say, Rishikesh, and Sevana Bhakti, which stated that because the Lord is the master of the senses, when all the senses are utilized in his service, then the sense become very controlled. With the hand, one can cleanse the temple of the Lord with one's hand. With one leg, one can walk to the holy places. Just like he mentioned in the life of Ambarish Maharaj, that Savayamana Krishna Padaravan Yevajansi Vakunta Gunanabanande, that Ambarish Maharaj, he was utilizing everything, his own particular sense. He was able to render service to the Lord. There are 9 processes of devotional service. So he mentioned that Ambarish, he actually engaged in all the 9 processes of devotional service, the Navavida Bhakti. And this 9 process of this devotional service, he actually utilizes all the senses. All the 5 senses, actually 5, 10, 15, then ultimately 24. All the senses were utilized in the service of the Lord. By hearing, Stravana, by hearing, by Kirtana, by speaking, Smarana, by remembering, Padasevana, by engaging in the deity service, in offering prayers, and all that. So Ambarish Maharaj was able to utilize all this, was able to perform all the aspects of devotional service. Then it actually was mentioned that Ambarish Maharaj was such a person, being a great devotee of the Lord. Himself, even though he was a king having so many servants, but he will, with his own hand, he will actually do all the menial service in the temple. In the temple of the Lord, he will do all the menial service. He will not. It's not that he will employ some servant or get some. No, he himself, he will get on the floor and cleanse the Lord's temple himself. He will do all the menial service in the temple, cook for the Lord, do all these things. Even there was one time when one lady wanted to marry Ambarish Maharaj. She wanted to marry him so that she can engage in the service of the Lord. She wanted to marry so they can engage in the service. But Ambarish Maharaj married her, but he simply built another temple for her to do service. Not that she has now, no. Because that service which he's doing, this is his own service to the Lord. Because he sees himself as the Lord's servant. He's taught at Lord's servant means he's actually engaging with his own body, with his own mind, with his own senses, all in the service of the Lord. That's what we call Haridas, the servant of the Lord. So just like Prabhupada is... Now, Prabhupada is quoting a verse from the later part of the Bhagavad-Gita in the chapter 14. So here I mentioned that it's a mancharo verbicharena, bhakti-yoga sevate, saguna samatityatam, brahma-bhujaya-kapate, that because even though, yes, all this yoga process which has been explained, like this pranayama system, which is meant to bring the senses, to control the senses. So, okay, Hare Krishna. All right. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, is it? Okay, it's working. All right. That one engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. One who engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord transcends the most of material nature and is immediately elevated to the spiritual platform. So which means there is no one who engage in devotions in service of the Lord by utilizing all the senses in the Lord's service. Then which means automatically it transcends the most of nature. And they mention here that Brahma-bhujaya-kapate, so it immediately elevated to the spiritual platform. So a Krishna conscious person begins from the transcendental stage. And he is constantly in that consciousness. So this is very, very important. A Krishna conscious person begins from the transcendental stage and is constantly in that consciousness. Because a person has learned to engage everything, his senses, everything, all in the service of the Lord. Just like Bhakti Thakur, he sang a song, Manasa deho gayo yokichu moho, apino tuyapade nanda kisho. This is Bhakti Thakur, that my dear Lord, my senses, my mind, body, everything, I'm engaging them in your service. Nanda Kishore, which means son of Nanda. How everything. So the devotee, he actually considers his body to belong to the Lord only. He no longer consider his body to be for his own. Because he has dedicated everything for the service of the Lord. When in Jagannath Puri, Sanatana Goswami, he was going to Puri. And when he was going to Puri, he contracted some infection on the way. And this infection causes his body become full of diseases. So much sores and the pores, blood will coming out of his body. He developed very bad skin infection, whereby it's, so much pores is coming out of his body, blood coming out of his body. So when Sanatana Goswami was going to Puri, so thinking of his condition, so he's thinking that when I reach Puri, because I cannot present myself this way in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so when I reach Puri, I will give up my body. I will give up my body by throwing myself under the wheels of Jagannath Rath Yatra. So this is his idea, because he says, I don't want to present myself before the Lord. I'm going to give up my body. So he was contemplating suicide when he reached Puri. So when he arrived in Puri, at that time he was staying at the kuti of Haridas Thakur, because Haridas Thakur was staying in an ashram not far away from the Jagannath temple at Siddhabakul. And then when Sanatana Goswami was staying with Haridas Thakur, and then so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to visit. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to visit, seeing the Sanatana Goswami there, so immediately Mahaprabhu, he embraced Sanatana Goswami. He embraced him. Even though his body was full of skin infections, pus and everything coming from his body. But Mahaprabhu, he embraced him. Even though the Lord, who has a golden complexion, very beautiful body, but when he embraced Sanatana Goswami, all the pulses, the blood that is coming out of his body, actually smeared on the body of the Lord. But the Lord was the Lord was very happy that he was embracing Sanatana Goswami. But Sanatana Goswami became so unhappy that, oh, the Lord is embracing me, and the Lord is not feeling remorse in my bodily condition. He was feeling so bad that, oh, the Lord is embracing me. So he was very, very unhappy. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will come every day and do the same thing. Every day, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will come every day and do the same thing and embrace Sanatana Goswami. And that Sanatana Goswami had been thinking that I'm going to commit suicide right on the Rath Yatra day. So when the Lord came, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then one day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, he said, Sanatana, you're thinking of committing suicide. Because after all, he's the Paramatma. He knows everything, he knows the mind. He said, oh, Sanatana, you're thinking of committing suicide. But if you commit suicide, how can you think you can attain Krishna? If I think I can attain Krishna by committing suicide, I will have committed suicide millions of times. If I know I can commit suicide. And your body belongs to me. This body doesn't belong to you. Your body belongs to me. Because you and your brother, you've dedicated your body to me. And through your body, you and your brother, in this case, the Lord is referring to Sanatana and Rupa Goswami. He said, through your bodies, both your brothers, they are going to accomplish so many, many things. In terms of his mission, why he had incarnated. He said, my mission is going to be accomplished through this body, which is not your body is not my property. And then the Lord asked Haridas Thakur, he said, Haridas, can you see what Sanatana Goswami is trying to do? He wants to get rid of another person's property. Is this the right thing to get rid of somebody else? Somebody else get you to keep the property for they want to get rid of another person's property? Can you judge this? Because Lord said, this body belongs to me, it's not body, it belongs to my service. So in this way, the Lord talked Sanatana Goswami out of this idea of wanting to commit suicide. That no, because your body do not belong to you, the body not belong to me, For a devotee, everything belongs to the Lord only. Nothing belongs to him for a devotee. So this is real yoga, you know. And then, of course, then the Lord, when he embraced Sanatana Goswami again, so all the diseases which had infected his body, they just vanish. So, like as Prabhupada has written here, that for a devotee, because he had dedicated everything to the Lord, his body, everything to his body and mind to the Lord, he said, for a devotee, there is no falling down, and ultimately he enters into the abode of the Lord without delay. He enters into the abode of the Lord without delay. So, because the devotee is always in transcendental stage. It's always in transcendental stage of affairs. So therefore, he mentioned here that the practice of reduced eating is automatically done when one eats Krishna Prasadam or food which is offered first to the Lord. So therefore, all this yoga process which has been explained in this chapter, all the way to chapter 6, it's not really meant for those who have entered the bhakti process. It's actually meant for those who are in the material life and the material consciousness and who need to come to the stage of spiritual realization, of spiritual practice, spiritual perfection. Who need to come to that stage? It's not meant for those who are already engaged in the process of bhakti. It's not meant for them. But the Lord is explaining this to Arjuna later on. The Lord is explaining all these different yoga processes because the whole Bhagavad-Gita is a summary of all the Vedic literatures, the whole Bhagavad-Gita. So the law is summarizing the whole Vedic scriptures, all the Upanishads, all the Vedas. The Lord is summarizing them in the form of this dialogue with Arjuna. It doesn't mean that the Lord is telling Arjuna that now you have to go to the forest and practice yoga now. No, it's not that now you have to practice. Now you have to go and practice yoga. That's not the reason why he's telling Arjuna all these things. But the Lord is giving because the Lord is speaking this knowledge. That's why it's called transcendental knowledge. Because at the end, ultimately at the end, when we reach chapter 18, the Lord is going to tell Arjuna that whatever I've told you, just abandon them. Whatever I told you, Savadama Prityaga, Mamika Sanam Praja. Abandon whatever I told you, either yoga process or Dharma, the Varnashram Dharma, whatever I might have taught you. Forget it. Just surrender unto me only. Surrender to me and become my devotees. Then all the obligations will be taken care of. So the Lord says that is his last instruction to Arjuna. So anyway, the main thing is that we have to learn to control our senses. The senses must be controlled. And even though, just like, yes, as a devotee, we take Krishna Prasad, but that doesn't mean that one has to overeat. Even in the realm of taking Krishna Prasad, we are instructed to be a balanced eater. Otherwise, you eat too much, you become sick. That's what happens. So Prabhupada said, reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. And without sense control, there is no possibility of getting out of the material entanglement. No possibility. So therefore, let us utilize all our senses in the service of Krishna, who is the master of the senses. Then everything can be attained. So Hare Krishna. So if is there any question? What been explained in this text, in this chapter? Any point? Any question? Hare Krishna. I know people don't like to ask questions here. So thank you for coming. Come every day for the Gita class. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Gopi Manande. Hare Krishna.